And we are back for another episode, the final episode, the grand final edition episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast. As always, brought to you by the Ausamerican Aces. My name's Adsy, and most importantly, the grand finalist on the other end, my best mate, Joshy Dunkley. How you going, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm pretty excited about what's to come over the next few days, but looking forward to this podcast, mate. It's something that I love doing each week.
Me too, mate. Can you believe it's the grand final podcast as well? We've I don't know how many we've done exactly. I think Brado said something like 27 maybe, but mate, it felt like yesterday when we did our first one.
Yeah, I know, crazy, and you still can't figure out how to set up your computer, mate. So we're going well there, but it's been good. We've loved every second of it, and yeah, it's nice to be able to get online and still chat to each other, even though we are living apart. So it feels weird. It feels very weird that this is grand final week to me. Like it's not up here in Brisbane, like you just don't. It's not as publicised. You know, there's obviously more cameras and people at training and stuff, but it's just so weird that it's AFL grand final week. So very excited, mate. Can't wait to get down to Melbourne and have a crack at it.
Yeah, it's polar opposite here, mate. It's nothing. It's only what everyone is talking about. I go and get my coffee up the road at Little Elephant, great cafe, for what it's worth. And Herald Sun, The Age, it's just spread out over the news about obviously the grand final. Seen your photo in one of them, which was pretty funny. But does it feel like to you being up in Queensland? Is it similar to when we were in the COVID? You know that week we had in Perth when we played against Melbourne in that granny. Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, it actually very similar. Very similar. I think the only difference is like we can obviously roam around. Remember then we sort of had a couple of restrictions and the grand final parade and stuff was called off. So that part of it, like I think later this week, when we get to Melbourne, it'll start to feel real and, probably hit us in the face and you'll sort of get a bit of a shock. But that does feel very similar to the Perth build-up. Yep, couldn't agree more.
Yes, mate. Well, it's exciting. We may as well get straight into it because it's what everyone wants to hear. Your week last week, obviously, we spoke about the build-up and, how it was going to be a big game for you. Obviously, on the weekend, all eyes are on the game on Friday, which was a beauty. We'll go through that in a little bit, but I feel like we should get through yours, which was, obviously all our fans were watching. Mate, they started unbelievably well. 5 goals to nothing in the space of however long it was. I was sitting here with one of my good mates, Pever, and he said it's over. He's like, no, the Blues have won. And I was like, mate, they haven't won. Trust me. Lions won't lose at the Gabba. They'll get a bit of a run on. I think Eric Hipwood kicked did he kick your first goal?
Yeah, he kicked our first goal with like a couple of minutes to go.
And I felt like in my mind, I said, and as well, I said to people, I was like, if he kicks this is going to be like the kickstart for him. And fortunately enough, he did. And you guys were able to, run away. But what were you thinking, how the game started? What was going through your mind?
Oh, well, it was kind of weird. I mean, we probably having 2 weeks off, there's so many things you can talk about, but we just weren't quite ready for that intensity. And they'd obviously had a couple of big games over the last 2 weeks. So they were very match fit, match tuned and ready to go. And we probably didn't get the game on our terms early enough. And the game was just being played in their frantic style and their surge footy and just getting it deep into their forwards. I thought our backs did an amazing job though. Defending, I think it was like 25 inside 50s in the first quarter. So it was pretty crazy what they we gave up 6 goals, but they managed to save us a lot of the time. So, it was a weird one. I was out there and I remember chatting to Lockie Neal after they kicked their Harry Mackay or maybe Sam Doherty kicked one. It was like their 5th. And I was like, mate, I feel like we just got to slow it down, just get the game on our terms, start kicking it around, just control the footy a little bit because as soon as we can do that, then we can sort of slow it down a bit, slow their tempo down because they want to play this fast, precious type of game. And I feel like that was what they were doing well. So when Rick kicked that goal, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like that really kick-started us and we started having a bit more of a stoppage game, which was good for us. And then went in at quarter time and spoke to the boys and I actually brought up just a little one, like to say, just around, we've got nothing to lose now. There's no pressure on us. We can go out there. We can just play footy and have a crack. Like we could lose this game by 50 points or we can come back and win. And sure enough, I felt like the first 5 minutes of that second quarter, we were able to get it back on our terms, but play the footy that we wanted to and really challenge Carlton's defence.
Yeah, well, everything you just said was absolutely spot on. It's what it looked like once you're able to, settle it into a stoppage game. It felt like you guys were able to get on your terms. And as I've spoken about watching from afar throughout the whole year, feel like if you guys can turn the ball over in a good spot, you guys are probably the best team in the comp in going, from a back half to forward half and getting really good looks for your forwards. And that's what it looked like. What about the crowd? I mean, watching from home, I could genuinely, if I had my eyes closed and I was just, listening, I would have felt like it was a Carlton home game. The crowd seemed crazy considering I've been to a lot of Brisbane games and played in a lot of games up in Brisbane, and never have I felt like there's been an opposition crowd that has rivaled Brisbane. It felt like, it looked like Carlton had a lot. Do you reckon that, firstly, did they? And secondly, do you reckon that's what helped them as well, a little bit kickstart the first quarter?
Oh, for sure, mate. I remember running out in the warm-up and we essentially got booed. It sort of gave me flashbacks to when 2016 when we went to the Giants home ground in Sydney and they booed. When they ran out, they got booed by our supporters.
Right.
So the Doggies fans all rocked up. It was kind of like that. Like we ran out for our warm-up and I was actually mic'd up for Channel 7 doing this thing with them. And,
I know you were.
And, mate, I was copping it over the fence from the Blue supporters about you and our podcast. I was nearly going to turn around and be like, what are you doing like during this thing? And they were talking to me about Cripper and all this stuff. Like, it was just funny. It was just, it was an awesome atmosphere. And I feel like those games, though, like, yes, it's a home game for us, but you run out there, and I reckon we had the similar feeling when we played in that Perth granny. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the Gabba, or it doesn't feel like it's Optus Stadium. Like, this week won't feel like it's the MCG because it's a grand final, and that finals like atmosphere is just feels different, and the ground feels different. It feels a bit closer. There's pressure on, so there's so many different elements to the way that you have to play in a significant game.
Yeah. Well, it as I said, it looked like that. When you first started, the crowd obviously had a big impact, and then it felt like it kind of wrestled your way in a way after you guys started to get a run on and whatnot. What about your own game? What did I seen I must have been on the Fox Footy ratings. They gave you 8 out of 10 and one of the highest rated players, and I feel like you started the game off extremely well. I mean, you were probably one of the very few that was, I guess, kind of up to the intensity of the actual contest. It looked like you settled a lot quicker than what the others did. And then obviously it was quite publicly spoken. Fags came out and gave you a pump up for your role on Cripper at stoppage. How did you see your own game, and what was your mindset going into the game? Was it, obviously looking after yourself, but you've been in this position and you've won a preliminary final. Did you want to take a bit of that responsibility in trying to lead not only the midfielders but the group forward?
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I've probably wanted to do, have wanted to do since arriving at the footy club is, leaning to the experience that I've had. And as you touched on, I've won a couple of prelims before. And so I just wanted to go out there and lead by example. And, I had a role on the weekend. My role was pretty much to just go to Cripper at stoppages and try and nullify his influence that he had, throughout the other finals games, and felt like I did that. Obviously they started well, so that was a bit of a, head scratcher in a way. But after quarter time, I felt like, we really all stuck together and played our roles, and I felt like I performed quite well. Third quarter was a little bit down, but still felt like the pressure and the defensive side of my game was good. So flew for a couple of marks. I felt like there was a few things that I did that, I'd been working on that was promising. So it gives me good confidence heading into a grand final that I can go again and hopefully, play again my role for the team that can help us get up.
Did it give you a greater appreciation for, how good of a season Carlton have had? Well, how good of a back half, probably the last 10 games that they've had. And do you see them as being like a team, a contending team now for years to come with the group they have?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the Blues throughout the year, and I was chatting to a couple of their boys, Cripper and Jacob Wiedering and a few others after the game about, mate, it's been inspirational to watch them go about their business. Like the way that and if you think right back to the start of when the crowd and that were giving it to them at that game against, can't remember who it was against, but they were throwing their memberships over the fence, like sticking it right up them. And then for them to be able to turn it around and then make a preliminary final and play the way that they did, like is inspirational. And I said to them, I said to a few of their lads that it's been a pleasure to watch the way that they've turned things around this year. And yeah, I genuinely do think they're going to be a contender for quite some time because the list that they've got, the players they've got in there already, the senior players that are at the helm of, their leadership and stuff are very good. So I personally think they're going to be there again next year, and hopefully, we can run into them and have another good battle.
Yeah, that's great. I definitely feel like they had a lot of love, external love, from mutual fans who aren't necessarily Carlton fans for the way that they went about it, which is great to see. Carlton Moore, when did you realise? Well, when did you think you had it won? Because you can't say there was good 15 minutes in that last quarter where it looked like that the game was over.
Yeah, I personally didn't really think about it until I reckon we kicked one and it put us up by about 24, maybe 25 points. And from that point, I was a bit like, we'd have to do a lot to lose now. But mate, I've been involved in games where, and you've been the same, where if you just think about it for like 5 minutes and then all of a sudden it just goes bang, 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 you just know that that's not the way you can do it. So I wanted to get myself involved and really slow it down. So I went into the stoppages and, if I got the ball hit to me, I'd try and hold it in and just get another stoppage just to slow it right down and then get a reset. So little things like that. So I did notice that we were probably getting near the end and I was on the bench and there was about 7 minutes to go when I came back on. So I sort of had a rough idea that we were going to win in that period of time. So it was pretty special.
It's great. What was the first emotions that went through your mind? Like what was when the siren went? What was the first thing you thought about? Because I know obviously what it's like to make a granny and it's probably the greatest feeling that you can have other than actually winning the grand final. What was your first emotions like?
I was very overwhelmed, mate. I couldn't really believe it, to be honest. For me, firstly coming up here and joining the footy club and, your goal at the start of the year is to make finals really. And then, whatever happens from there that happens. And for us to work our way back into the game like we've spoken about already, but to be down by 6 goals or whatever it was in the first quarter and then come back and win by 3 or 4 or whatever, I feel like it's a huge feather in our cap. It gives us a lot of confidence. I was just proud of the boys, mate. I was so happy. Had my family there and partner and everyone was there. So, it was great to celebrate with tips and that all in the rooms and missed you there this week, mate. But it was a great time. And yeah, those that's what dreams are made of, those kind of, environments in the rooms. I feel like that's what you dream of as a kid, making a grand final. And the next step for us is now to win one together.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Got me a little bit emotional there, mate. I wish I was running out with you a lot of the times when I when I watch from afar, but we're all very proud of you. We'll touch on the granny in a little bit, but I want to just get your thoughts on the other prelim final. Obviously you would have watched it on the Friday and you said last week watching the semi-final, you were ready to run out there and play. I couldn't imagine what it was like for you watching the prelim, considering how good of a game it was. What was your thoughts? I mean, it was one of the great prelim finals that you're ever going to watch.
It was unbelievable, mate. I think I said last week that I thought it was going to be a nail biter, and it certainly was. I honestly thought the Giants were going to get over the top in the end because the way that they were playing and just putting the Pies under the pump was pretty good. And similar to the Blues, I feel like they've had that run, the Giants, that it's been a pleasure to watch. And their footy is really good footy. Their best footy is unbelievable. So I was kind of sitting there like, oh, geez, like who's going to win? What's happening here? Watching a few matchups and seeing how players are playing. And I was an interested onlooker, obviously hoping that we were going to win the next day and play one of the two sides in the grand final. So, I was a bit, I wouldn't say I thought that the Pies were home, but I just felt like Collingwood were going to always win.
Yeah, I agree. I kept thinking, Collingwood would probably run away with it here. The crowd sounded unbelievable. But one thing we've learned throughout the final series in Giants, in the history of the Giants, they seem to play well in hostile environments. But when I think Toby Green had a shot from the boundary line with 4 minutes to go when he snapped it and looked like it was going in, and Steelo. Yeah, that's something that experience and leadership is. And most people, I reckon, would have spoiled the ball through the points and just let it, get the ball back. It would have been a draw at that point. But he would have known. Steelo would have known there was 3.5 to go, whatever it was, taking the mark, and then, tried to slow it down, and he did. And ultimately, that's what they won by. But, yeah, when Toby Green had that shot, I thought, firstly, I thought it was going in. And then secondly, I was like, the ball's going to be hemmed in here, and they're just going to keep peppering. One thing that I obviously noticed was I feel like the umpires put the whistle away a little bit. There was a couple controversial free kicks that probably weren't awarded when they would normally be awarded in a regular season game. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was a bit skeptical of probably a few of them, a lot of them. Yeah, and I know there's been a lot of talk about it too. So we probably shouldn't talk about umpires, mate, because I'm not sure if they actually like you and I after the Brownlow count last night.
Oh, well, we may as well move on to the Brownlow. Yeah, we had a total of 8 votes between us, which is 4 each, which is nice. At least we're still doing things the same together.
Yeah, it was funny. We were texting each other before before the count, and I was like, "You're going to get way more than me," because I just felt like I was nowhere near it. I didn't even get invited, mate. I was only there because I was a leader last night because we had a satellite Brownlow. But yeah, I was yeah. I mean, obviously they don't like us, mate. We maybe need to get off the podcast and start just worrying about our footy.
Maybe we do. Maybe before each game we got to go up and hug the umpires and. Not that I was expecting anything, but there was a couple of games here and there. I was like, it might be a chance here, but didn't get absolutely nothing. So, well. What about the actual count itself? Obviously, you were in the rooms with Lockie, and it would have been a unique situation for you. We were on the text, as you were saying, and, watching Brownlows of, like, gone by, when players – the way I see it is when players seem to get votes in games where they're not necessarily – tipped to get votes, I always think, they're destined to win. And there was games earlier on in the year when, it's fair to say Locke got some votes in that he wasn't probably tipped to get. And as soon as he was getting those, I messaged you straight away. I reckon it was like round 8 or 9. And I was like, I feel like Lockie's going to win this. What were you thinking? What was the room like? What was everyone thinking come round 9 or 10 when, I feel like there was not really much expectation on Lockie. Everyone was talking about Bont and Butters and Petrarca and Dacos. No one was really talking about Lockie. What was the room like?
Mate, it was funny because I was probably the only one in the room that was like, he's going to win this. And I was sitting next to him and his partner, Jules, and Tipper was next to me, and then Joey was on it. Like, there was others on our table. Fags was on our table. Ashy was on our table. And I remember, I reckon round 5, I was like, he's going to win. You're going to win, Locke. And he's like, no way. He's like, I'm no chance. I came into this night, like, not even thinking about winning. Like, I'm absolutely zero chance. And then all of a sudden he got a couple of votes that he wasn't even expecting himself. And it was like, wow. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, he's chasing this down. And then he was leading, and then he was down by 1. And it was incredible. It was, I don't know. There's a lot of topical conversations coming out of it, but I personally felt going into the night, I reckon I said it on the potty last week, that, for us to win 17 games of football, I think we won throughout the season. And in those games, he would have to be probably in the top 5 players on the ground, I reckon, for our team in most of them. So he's probably destined to get votes in those games because he's a proven vote getter. He's won a Brownlow before, and the umpires are just, they're drawn to him. So I feel like it's a huge feather in his cap because he's done it all and playing some really good football in a good team. So that's a credit to Locke, and we're all so pumped for him and proud of him and he knows himself that he couldn't do it without us. So he's been very grateful for the support that we've given him too. So I was wrapped for Locke, and it's a nice way to start the week.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. He's a thoroughly deserved winner, and as you said, there has been a bit of talk around, the results and the votes, but I feel like that is what adds to the excitement of it. It is very unpredictable, and there's been talk about potentially taking it away from umpires and this and that. I don't think that would be an answer because I feel like that's what the excitement where it's come from. It's obviously been around it was the 96th Brownlow Medal last night. I definitely feel like there could be areas where we can improve it a little bit. I feel like, from apparently, umpires don't get to see stats or anything post game. They don't see, or whatever it is. I feel like you could probably get a little bit more out of it if they are, because the away from lock, there was a few games where some players. I mean, how's Jason Horne-Francis' game in round 6 when he's polled three votes and he's had 13 disposals? I mean, it's not about disposals or anything, but come on, this is what I mean. This is probably where it needs to improve a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And even the one Lockie against the Giants when Chuck kicked 7 and he got 2 and Lock got 3, and yeah, that's another example of. And he even said himself, he's like, "Mate, I did not expect a vote there." So it's like the players actually know when they're a chance to get votes and when they're not a chance to get votes. And I feel like when you do get a vote and you're not expected to, it's a bit like, oh, okay, well, that's a bit random.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you. I don't think it's you can't really fix it because it's been part of the history for such a long time, the way that they do it. So
agreed.
I don't know if there's a way, if there's a way that you can make it more. I just feel like you got to show them the stats. Like, you should just give them the stats and have a look, and then put 2 and 2 together and be like, righto, he was good. He had this much intercept marks, or because I personally feel like it is a midfielder's award. Like, you don't see any forwards or key backs in the top 15, 20 players. Like, it's pretty unfair in that regard. So if it was to change, I'd like it to be a bit more, even across the board.
I think when you say it's definitely a midfielder's award, I couldn't agree more. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily a forwards award. Let me get this right. I don't think a forward would ever win it because they just don't get their votes. But I feel like a forward mid rather than a mid forward, like not someone who spends most of the time as a midfielder and then goes forward. It's more who starts forward. So a guy like Toby Green and do you know what I mean? So Toby polled 20 votes yesterday. I feel like because there's so many good backs out there that should be getting votes for the roles they play and what they do on the opposition key forward. And if the Brownlow is considered as the best player in the competition, I feel like, if there's a way where you can add votes in for defenders, and if that is by checking the stats with, looking at intercept marks and whatever it may be, maybe that's the way we got to go about it. I mean, let me ask you, what do you hold higher? Like, what would you be more, not prouder, but if you got to choose which award you won, what would you choose? Would you choose the AFL coaches' votes or the Brownlow Medal?
Yeah. I personally, I reckon I would probably not respect. Oh, that's the wrong word. I'd probably say the coaches' votes because you know that's what the coaches would look at. So they're looking at matchups. They're like, righto, Harris Andrews is playing on Charlie Curnow this week. If he keeps him goalless and he has X amount of touches himself, or he has a massive role in our offense, then he should get 3 votes. Like, that kind of thing is probably the way you get others into it. I'm talking backmen and forwards, obviously, but I personally feel like that's probably one that I'd go for the coaches' votes over the way that the Brownlow votes are done.
I definitely would too because, being there last night and seeing some of those, it was quite funny. I mean, all you can do is laugh. The players can't control what they control. And for what it's worth, it was obviously disappointing for our table. It's funny how you obviously had the winner and we had the second place getter in Bonty. We're just talking off air. He's probably going to, right now, he's one of the greatest players to probably never have won a Brownlow. And he's been so close twice now. And when he polled the 3 in the last game, we all thought, wow, we're actually a genuine chance to obviously win this. And we're all sitting there. And then, there's when you go to the Brownlow and you see, you've got like that spreadsheet in the middle of the table and it has like the 20 contenders. And we were all looking straight away at Lockie's game. It said, he'd had 30 touches or whatever it was. And we were straight away, as soon as he didn't get the 1 or the 2, we were like, yep, he's got the 3. And then obviously polled the 3. So for what it's worth, it was disappointing for our table. I felt a lot of, felt really, I wouldn't say sorry because Bont is a he's a gracious second place getter, and obviously you can't discredit how good of a year he had. But it would have been cool to see Bonte. It would have been cool to see if they tied, but yeah, it was disappointing for Bonte. But all in all, I feel like Lockie is a thoroughly deserved winner, and as you touched on, there's been a lot of talk around it, and I've read some stuff. It's just absolute rubbish. He's probably the best player in the best team or most win team of a season. I mean, a thoroughly deserved Brownlow medalist, and no doubt you're proud of him. So it was great to see him win. Just hopefully we can get a few more votes next year, you and I.
Yeah, I know. Let's do it, mate. Let's get back to the what do you call it? What do you call it when you go back to the drawing board? Let's get back to the drawing board and get up next year.
Back to the drawing board. If there's no more footy stuff, mate, we may as well preview the big game this week. You got anything for me before we talk about the granny?
Not really, mate. Just excited. Just it's been an interesting start to the week, as we sort of touched on earlier. Like we had an open session today, and it was, I don't know, probably 2,000 or 3,000 out of our footy club at Brighton Homes Arena, and that was pretty cool to just have the fans there again. They were out last week, but probably a little bit more there today, being grand final week. And yeah, it was awesome just to be out in the sunshine and kicking the footies around and enjoying the time together. That's the biggest thing I feel like we've been doing is, this week it might not happen ever again. So you've just got to make sure that you really embrace it and enjoy the moment, because you never know when you'll be back there or if you'll ever get back there.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on with that. What does the week look like for you? You said you obviously had your session today. Imagine you got tomorrow off, and then, what's the rest of it? Main session Thursday and go from there?
Yeah. So tomorrow off, which is Wednesday, and then main session Thursday morning at the Gabba. And then we head to, I think we got a bit of gym straight after and a couple of meetings, and then we'll go straight to the airport, fly out at 3:00, and then get down to Melbourne. And you're picking me up Thursday night, aren't you? We're going to go get a haircut together, go see Iran.
Sure am. Going to Iran, mate.
Maybe.
He'd be devastated, mate, because Iran's a diehard Carlton fan, and genuinely 13 weeks ago, he actually asked for grand final tickets because he felt like Carlton were going to make the granny. So, yeah, we'll go to there. We'll go there and watch you get a haircut.
Maybe we'll put the prelim final game on in the background, mate, if you're spewing. No, we'll go out there for a haircut. We might even get some dinner. What do you reckon? Are you going to have dinner before you pick me up or what?
Oh, well, we're going to organise this right now, are we? We're going to talk on our potty about what we're doing. Yeah, all right. Yep, we will. As long as you skip the grand final parade Friday and watch the NFL with me, because fantasy's more important, especially considering we copped our first loss this week.
Mate, do you reckon I'll be sitting in the back of the ute with the NFL on, checking the who's playing?
Yeah, probably. Oh, more importantly, have you chosen who you sit next to on the parade yet?
I don't think so. I don't think we've been. They asked us to come and tell them if we had anyone, but haven't done that yet. So I'll probably just get put with whoever it is. I don't mind, mate. All the boys are good.
Maybe I should just come up there.
Yeah, come up for a ride. We have open training at the G on Friday before the parade, so that'll be cool. It'll be awesome to get on the G and have a run around before the Saturday game, the grand final, and then go and get in the cars. We didn't get to do that together, did we? Because we were in Perth, so spewing. We would have been together.
Yeah, we would have. Is that something you're obviously – because I remember when I experienced grand final week back in 2018, the whole week itself was unbelievable. I mean, the fans coming out to watch the train and everyone's talking about it. But the grand final parade, the experience is, as you said, you might never, ever experience that ever again. And I haven't. Obviously, 2021, we didn't have a parade. Is that something you're really looking forward to?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember 2016 and being my first year, I was sort of a bit like, how good's this? But didn't really understand the enormity of it. And after being through what I've been through and my journey in 21 that we lost and not having a parade then, but to be back there and, going to experience that again is pretty awesome. So I'm just looking forward to embracing the energy and all that comes with the parade and the build up to the game.
The weather is going to turn it on for you as well. I believe it's 28, 29 degrees Friday and Saturday. So the heat might actually be an advantage for you.
I love that. That's awesome. It's been 30 here for about a week now.
Yeah, so it's perfectly aligned for you, hopefully, knock on wood. What does the Friday night, what's the routine look like for you? Obviously, it's not just an old game. You're obviously playing in the biggest game of your life or probably the second because you've won a grand final before. So, yeah, what does Friday consist of? And then Saturday morning?
I think Friday we're just got a normal routine. We'll have meetings and stuff Friday nights, and then, it's pretty much up to us what we want to do. It's sort of our interstate trips to choose your own adventure because we have so many of them. I feel like we've got a good routine where we just come in and meet and get a bit of massage if you want it, and then pretty much the rest of the time's yours to prepare for, like you said, what is probably the biggest game of my life to date. And I do think that personally, I feel like I've got not a lot of responsibility, but I'm excited about my evolution as a player and a leader, especially now at Brizzy Lions. I feel like I'm a huge part of that leadership cohort, and I feel like I'll put a big price on the way I perform on grand final day, and hopefully that helps us get the win. So I'm really excited about the challenge, being on the biggest stage, and hopefully we can all embrace it and play the best footy we can.
I hope so. Who's coming? All of Yarram?
Nah, I think I've got 14 tickets, mate. So you're a part of that 14.
I am.
And then just all other family members. So mum and dad and Tipper and Lara and Kaiser and aunties and uncles and yep. So it'll be good.
They all must be extremely excited. Hopefully, it's a good day. We'll touch on the game. Obviously, you've played Collingwood twice this year. Played them at the Gabba and then played them at Marvel. Haven't played them at the G yet. Obviously, different stakes. Do you guys take much from those games? I mean, obviously, I always ask you this question when you've played a team before, and I probably know the answer, but as you know, it's a different stakes at that's going to be for the game. Do you guys take much from the games that you've played?
Yeah, there's definitely little learnings that we, had against them probably more recently, not the Gabba game, which was earlier in the year, round 2, I think it was, or round 4. No, it was round 4 because we played D's round 2. But yeah, we definitely take a little bit out of that Marvel game because I felt like we probably let ourselves down a few times on how we moved the footy and what we did from stoppage, and let them get on top in certain areas of the ground. So we looked a little bit at that today and sort of talked about things that we can do to hopefully nullify their strengths a little bit. So I'm not going to give away too many trade secrets, mate, but that's what we've been doing today at the footy club. And yeah, we take full confidence out of the way that we've played against them this year already, but just out of our recent form and what we've been able to do across the last couple of months. And we look forward to getting down there and putting it or giving it our best shot.
Will you specifically have any matchups? I know there's been talk here. They asked Craig McRae, I think, and Nick Dacos about you. It was in the paper here about potentially going to him and nullifying him. But is there anything are you expecting anything, or is it just more just team? It always is team orientated, but is it more just a team approach rather than an individual approach to start?
So they're talking about me going to Dacos down there, are they?
I read something the other day about what's going to happen. I think they were interviewing Dakes, and it just said, well, what are you going to do if Dunks comes to you? How are you going to nullify him, I guess, from stopping you? So my question is there anything? Do you have a plan, or what's your plans?
There's nothing yet. We've looked at their midfield, and last time we sort of took a bit of a collective approach to that. But yeah, I mean, if Nick plays some good footy in the first couple of quarters, then it might be a thing that we go to. But at the moment, I feel like it's more of a collective thing, similar to last time, because I felt like last time we started really well and put them on the back foot early. So that's something that we'll look to do again on Saturday. But whether there's any matchups for me or not, I reckon I'll find out over the course of the game, because at the moment there's not really much there.
I feel like if there is going to be a matchup, a good one for you would be Geordie. I feel like Jordan De Goey, that is. He, he's built for finals, and his game on Friday was probably the best game he's played to date, and he was quite dominant. And he's probably more obviously physically imposing than what Dakes is around the ball. So potentially could be a Geordie Dunkley matchup for a little bit.
Yeah, potentially. He, as you said, he's been playing some good footy. The last game, especially, I felt like he was dominant against the Giants, and we've watched a bit of their vision and from that game and the one before against the D's, and the contrast in, how the D's sort of try to keep their midfield, in and under and contested, whereas the Giants try to open it up and get it on the outside a little bit more. So gave guys like Geordie and Dacos and that like bit more free reign with their movement. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of days, but no doubt across the game I'll probably have a couple of roles.
Darcy Gardner came in obviously for you guys and played I feel like he played a great game. It must be a terribly tough time for the coaching selection panel this week for obviously your team. And can you give us a bit of an update on how Payne's going and how his ankle's going and, what's the plan?
Yeah, Payne, I think he trained today fully. So Thursday's his not last opportunity, but his opportunity to come out and give it a full crack and show Fags and the coaches that he's ready to go, essentially. And I think if he's able to do that, then he'll probably play. But as you said, Darcy Gardner played call him Dizzy, played a really good game in the prelim final. I thought he was huge, along with Harris in that first quarter. He was big in stopping them from scoring so much. So we were thankful as a midfield group for him being out there on the weekend because they probably would have scored a little bit more. But it'll be interesting. Like I said, it's up to the coaches and what they want to do. But it's not only that. It's our sub. What do we do with our sub? Gunners is fit and
Richie
firing,
too.
and JL's been. Richie's in the mix. Like there's so many guys that are ready to go, and I think JL's been a really good sub for us too when he's come on. So so many guys have put their hand up for selection, and the VFL having a good year like they did is sort of helps with that and helps our group, continue to be driven and wanting to play your best footy in the AFL team. Because if you don't, then sure enough, you'll be someone else. You'll make way for someone else to come in and play their role. So it's been a healthy competition all year.
Yep, and no doubt there's going to be a couple hard luck stories. So I feel for those players, and we'll find out obviously as it gets closer. But as well, for what it's worth, Taylor Adams got ruled out today, which is absolutely devastating for Tay. And knowing him personally, I've played many years with Tay back from junior footy, and I know what a great man and a great teammate he is, and he'll be there supporting the boys. But yeah, just wanted to give him a bit of love because I feel terrible for him because he's such a proud Collingwood man and he stands up in big games. So it's a big win for you guys not having to deal with Tay out there because he's played some really big games and big performances. That's it for me. Question wise for the granny, is there anything else footy wise that you want to talk about?
Not really. There's one thing that I've seen actually in the last hour or so. Did you see Callum Mills? Have you seen that story?
I've read something about an injury. What? Yeah, he hurt himself, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's hurt himself and he's in doubt for the round 1 next year because he was wrestling at Mad Monday. What are your thoughts on that?
What? No, he didn't.
Yeah. Wrestling Mad Monday.
Wow. Oh, I don't know. What are my thoughts? What's my initial thoughts? Probably shouldn't be wrestling, but I mean, I feel like it's just a little bit unlucky.
Oh, mate, I personally think that's what we do. It's what everyone does. You
So
have
do
Mad
I.
Monday. You got to let the guy live. So I don't think there should be any hard luck stories or anything to go by that.
So what does it say he's actually done?
Oh, he's got to get shoulder surgery. So he's out for 16 weeks or whatever it is. So 16 weeks.
That's not. Well, mate, you've had shoulders, so no, that's not that poor bloke. That's terrible. That's terrible news. I had no idea. You've shocked me there. We've got we actually haven't had our group Mad Monday because we had our VFL boys playing well into the finals. So we're actually getting together, I think, maybe in the next couple of weeks. So I'll make sure there'll be no wrestling going on because from the sounds of it, that's not good. But well, there you go. But I did want to say, before we move on from footy for the last time of the podcast and the year, we're all wishing you all the very best, mate. Everyone here at the American Aces that have listened to us. I had an appearance today and done a few things this week, and the amount of people that have told me that they love our podcast, done the A sign, chuck the A sign up. I had someone today throwing the A sign up. They're saying, when you get a chance, make sure you give us a shout out and wish Joshy all the best from us and all his fans. So we're all so proud of you, mate. We as you said, I love doing this podcast. I love that people listen into us. But, these people follow our journeys, and I'm just extremely proud here. I'm very happy that one of us is in a grand final. I wish it was both of us, but I'm glad that you're representing our podcast and everyone at the American Aces. And we all wish you the very best, and hopefully there's a medallion come the end of it.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. And to all our supporters too for supporting not only myself but us throughout the year. And hopefully we can get one more win on the board and bring home the cup. It'd be awesome. Fingers
crossed. It'd be rude not to finish our very last podcast on NFL talk. As I said, it's been a great week so far, but I'm a little bit flat that we lost for people who obviously tune into the American Aces NFL fantasy comp that we're in. Dunks and I are obviously a team. We're 2-0. We lost our first game today due to Devontae Adams going off and Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell, come on.
Yeah, I got your text when I got off the track because I wasn't watching it. And I was like, oh, no. So I've quickly gone onto my sleeper app. And, mate, not only that league, but I got done in another league too that I was like 90% going to win at the start of the day. And
can you tell me what players cost you?
Oh, I'll tell you what players cost me.
Because for what it's worth, our fans that play NFL fantasy, there was a breakout player for the weekend. His name's Devon Achane. He's the running back for Miami Dolphins. Akane. They just scored 70 points, and he'd run in for 4 touchdowns, and we started him on the bench. So bench points don't score, which was disappointing.
So today, this is what I had. So I had it was against Jasper Fletcher. So I had Kyron Williams playing at running back.
Played terrible.
And then I had T. Higgins, bro. He has been probably my biggest disappointment all year. But you know what? You know what annoys me so much?
What?
Yeah, but I've had him every year, and he's done the same thing. He always starts bad, and then as soon as like playoffs and all that start to feature, he comes good. Him and Joe Burrow, they just start building this chemistry again and throwing the ball.
I think it's I think it's the Bengals. It's the Bengals offense. They just don't look good at the moment. Very, very frustrating.
But they'll come good. I bet you.
Well, at the end of the day, the only real important league for us is the big American Aces League that we both want to win. But it's funny because I go real early. When I messaged you, it was the start of the game. You got my message. But Tutu Atwell ran in for a 22-yard touchdown. And that's when I messaged you. And I was like, oh, no, we've lost. And then he was considered stepping out. So we were still in it. But, mate, it was an absolute shit show. So disappointed we lost. But hopefully when we episode 1, season 2 next year on or maybe we'll do a one-off fantasy episode, whatever it may be. Hopefully next year when we do it, we can be the champions.
That'd be awesome. I'd love that. I think we've lost by 4 today, and the other boys, they were wrapped. They were texting us on the group chat. They were pumped. Those fellas.
Yeah. They're happy that we lost because I think our opposition is a little bit scared about our team because
we're still second on the ladder. You know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but who's top? I think it's Boyd Cordoner's top, and his team is flying.
Yeah, he's got 120 more points than us already this year.
Mate, he beat a team on the weekend that scored 150 points. And for what it's worth, we lost to a team that scored 130. So it shows how well he's going. But we're getting a bit sidetracked here with the NFL. I reckon that's it for us for the grand final episode.
It is, mate.
Grand final episode.
An absolute pleasure, as we've said already. And we want to thank our supporters and everyone that's supported us throughout the year. And we've loved doing it, as Adzi mentioned. But hey, have you got a shout out for the jersey that you're wearing? Actually, before we wrap it up, I do. NFL Australia sent it out. Did they send yours out? They sent mine. I just don't have it on, but.
So I'll quickly take my headphones. It's got
our names on the back.
Yeah, I'll take my headphones off so I don't spill it and I'll show you. Can you see that?
Yeah, so it's actually got, you've got ads on. Yep. He's got ads on the back with a 01 for those that aren't watching. So we've both got, I've got number 5 on the back of mine and says Dunkley. So that's sick.
And what team did you go with?
I went for the 49ers because I'm riding them this year.
No, I knew you were a San Fran fan, but no, thank you, NFL Australia. They sent it out to us, and I actually did my power rankings on NFL Australia Instagram last week, and I copped a bit of hate for it. It's so funny because you can never do anything right, can you? Like, there's just never anything right. People were laughing at me for some of the play. I seen a comment saying, like 3 laughing faces, leave it to the professionals. So then I went and looked at I went and looked at the Bleacher Report power rankings. The top 6 was the exact same as mine, and you could throw a blanket over 7, 8, 9, and 10 on who you could put there. So I was like, what did I do wrong? Anyway,
what you did do is you mozzed the Dallas Cowboys. They were pretty average on the weekend.
Oh, they were bad. Oh, they were bad. Well, who would you have as your one? Would you have San Fran? Or would you have the Dolphins after they dropped 70?
Oh, this week probably Dolphins. San Fran 2.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those neck and neck seasons. I think they're the only 2 teams that are still undefeated, which is only 3 games, but they're playing some irresistible NFL. Forgot actually. We've got a giveaway as well, don't we?
We do. We're going to give away. Yeah. So we're going to do a jumper giveaway. So to our fans for supporting us, this year we're going to get a couple of jumpers signed by myself and Adzi, our respective teams, and yeah, we'll make sure that we speak to Tommy, and he's going to do a massive giveaway, I think, in the next week. So stay tuned to all the channels, the social media channels, and the Oz American Aces platform, and you'll see how to enter and hopefully be in the running to win one of our jumpers. So that's a bit of a thank you to our supporters for supporting us all year, and we want to give back as much as we can. So that's a little give back for us, and because we didn't end up getting the 1,000 5-star rating, so we need to still get that too, so we can do a bigger
we will get that. And remember, for our fans listening, Brisbane Lions signed jumper could be worth quite a bit if they go and win the grand final as well. So if I was you, I'd be trying to win that. But that's a wrap, mate. Well done for the year again. As I said, thanks for all our listeners, as you said. We love doing this, but yeah, we're all so proud of you, mate. We hope you go out there and win. Everyone will be following you. We'll be cheering you on. I'll have a little Brisbane Lions jumper underneath my T-shirt that I'll be wearing at the game. Sitting in a Collingwood crowd, which I haven't sat in a Collingwood crowd before. So we're all proud of you, mate, and all the very best. Thanks to everyone for listening to us and supporting us throughout the year. We've loved doing this. We can't wait to do it again, hopefully next season and for years beyond that. And go Lions for the week.
Thanks, mate. Let's go.